Hey everybody, welcome to BrickVault. My name's Jack. Today we are unboxing and building every single set from LEGO Dimensions Wave 6. That is Harry Potter, we've got the A-Team, a big story pack for Ghostbusters, the new movie, as well as 2 Adventure Time fun packs and Mission Impossible. Now I can tell you all the nitty-gritty little bits of information about each pack. Some of these sets are the first LEGO builds to come out for brand new licenses with LEGO. That is the Adventure Time specifically, as well as the A-Team and Mission Impossible. Alright, and there's a lot to get through, so I'm just gonna go pack by pack now. Let's start off with Adventure Time. This is the level pack with Finn. By the way, if I didn't mention this before, this is the Adventure Time level pack 71245. Okay, so starting off with the Finn minifig, he looks awesome. It's a really simple cartoon character, but they captured him really well in LEGO form. It doesn't always translate as well, especially when you're doing a cartoon character and turning him into a minifig, but here I think it works excellently. He's got 2 expressions printed on, easily recognizable, and a couple of special molds, one for the head, and that is an awesome mold for the backpack. Extremely versatile. He comes with a golden sword, he's got dual molded legs, and let's check out that Jake mobile. It might be too early to say in this episode comparison, but I think this vehicle has some of the best curves out of all of the Wave 6 Dimensions packs. The curves seem to go all the way from the front to the back. They match really well. I like that Jake's face is just printed onto a single curved piece there. And it was interesting that they only kept the front wheels and the back just slides around. This is a fun little vehicle and I'm very fond of it. Now we're moving on to the Ancient War Elephant. Not only is it pretty spot on to what this thing looks like in the show, but still very recognizable as an elephant with heads on either side. You probably wouldn't even have to know anything about the show and still be able to pick up on that. The trunk is there, we've got the tusks, the ears of course, and then if you didn't know about the visors, you might just think it is an interesting bit of coloration, but this is a great mini build, and I'm extremely happy with these 3 start-offs. I do have the alternates, I built all of the alternates, so here is our second build for Jake. They're calling this Snail Dude Jake, and there's certain things about this build I like, particularly the shape of the snail for the back, and it was a creative idea to try to use the wheel as sort of the spiral curved bit for the shell of the snail. Now Jake's eyes are really supposed to be on the ends of those cheese wedge pieces, which of course doesn't really match up with the print on the face, but ultimately I think it's recognizable as a snail and that makes it somewhat successful. The Ancient War Elephant can then turn into the Psychic Submarine. Now a submarine doesn't quite look as recognizable, I suppose here. You could mistake this for an underwater creature, but at the very least an underwater theme is detected here. It's got some thrusters in the back I can see, and I can only imagine those to be some sort of shooting weapons in the front. An interesting looking build, but admittedly I think it is my least favorite from this set. Now I might say Jake here is hitting 3 for 3. This is called Hover Jake, and it's an instantly recognizable build for a hoverboat. A clever build using the fans on the back that are posable, and the curved pieces all still match up very well for the whole build. It's nice, it's smooth, it's sleek, and it looks like this thing can fit a minifig. This last alternate build is called the Cosmic Squid. I think the head looks a bit more like a seahorse head. I don't know, definitely also a sea theme going on here. The 2 trunk pieces and the thrusters at the bottom have all been turned into what I believe would be tentacles. We've got a few more gold pieces at the bottom, which I don't know, could probably function as weapons. I did not play this far into the game. I am liking that build for the head, and I consider this a pretty successful alternate build. Here's one last look at the Adventure Time set. The Jake minifig is excellent, and I'm really happy with both of the original builds, and most of the alternates also work pretty well. Alright, the first review is done, and sticking with the Adventure Time theme, let's check out what the Jake minifig looks like. Alright, and here is the Adventure Time Team Pack 71246. We're going to start off with Jake. He looks pretty good, appropriately with the short legs. I think that works for him. And a nice, simple, clean print on the torso to show he's got a bit of a belly. The mold for the head looks great, and he comes with a flashlight accessory. Very simple fig, but I'm pretty happy to get him this way. Next, we have our lumpy Space Princess. She looks pretty excellent, both in mold and that print for the front there. Her expression is pretty nice. And I like that print for the phone. It's a versatile piece that you could give to any minifig, though I believe her phone is a little bit more reddish in the show. Doesn't really matter. Works really well, and she's a fun character to have. All right, here is the first build. We've got BMO. He comes with some unique pieces, which I'm really appreciating. We've got those blue sausage ones, and the connectors for his legs are also pretty unique pieces. Awesome prints for both the face and the controller on the tile. And other than that, they got the box shape of his body pretty darn well. The other primary build for this set is Lumpy Space Princess's car, or they just call it Lumpy Car, and it's a pretty good small build here. I like the curved pieces. They definitely make a lumpy shape, and the star in the front is a nice touch. There's an interesting use of those medium azure blue wheel pieces. I suppose they're meant for a train track, but they definitely work well to contrast with that pink. This might not be my first choice as a getaway car, but I definitely think it beats a lot of Mighty Micro's builds. First of the alternate builds is Dogmo, which I almost like better than BMO. It's just sort of a more adorable build here. A lot of the same pieces are used in a lot of the same places, just the shape of the body and orientation of the head has changed, but it works nonetheless for an alternate build. Now this alternate build is called Lumpy Truck, but I don't really see the truck part of this build. It is an interesting looking shape for a car. It almost looks like it has a very large thorax in the back, kind of like a bug. Ultimately, I like the shape. The name kind of throws me off a bit, but this build works pretty well. I'm not a huge fan of that little black piece kind of hanging off the back, but at the end of the day, it feels complete. Our next alternate build is Snake Mo. Considering the shape of the head, I would call him Cobra Mo. There's a little bit of clever building here that I appreciate. The 1x2 tiles in the front kind of make up a nice little snake belly, but I just don't think there's quite enough Lego pieces to really pull off that snake shape. Our last build of this set is the Lumpy Land Whale, and I gotta say most of this build is really working for me. Especially, of course, that shape for the tail works really well, and the mouth also looks really distinct. You can tell we've got a couple of small flippers on the side, and part of me wishes that we just kind of ejected all the pieces that are basically meant for the wheels in this build. They don't really seem to fit, and I kind of would have preferred to just have the whale on its own. Here's the set one last time. Of course, we needed the Jake minifig. He's an essential. Princess Lumpy is an excellent mold, and we have a lot of strong builds, not just as the primary, but I also really liked a lot of the alternates. Okay, so Adventure Time is done. Next big set, let's do the Ghostbusters story pack. Right, we have our largest of the packs for this wave. This is the story pack, the Ghostbusters one. It is set number 71242, and we have this awesome storefront build for a Chinese restaurant. There's a lot of great details right here on the front. I will say right off the bat, everything here you see is a sticker, but we've got an excellent bit of building for the roof shingles. I like the ornaments in the windows in the side, and on the other side you can see some gadgets for fighting ghosts. And this is what the build looks like if you put it onto the actual Dimensions platform. The minifig for this set is Abby Yates. We got another one of her in the Ecto 1 and 2 set, so she's not exclusive, but nonetheless a really excellent looking minifig. The detailing is on point just about everywhere. She comes with 2 expressions, and you can see she's holding one gadget here, but the set does come with a couple of alternates on the wall. Now here is our vehicle build. Of course, it's the Ecto 1. and I'm loving it in this micro scale. That front tile piece is the only print, I think, in the entire set here, and we have just a bunch of excellent details. I like the builds for the roof, the front grille of the car, and the only weak point, and I think you might agree, is the back. It kind of just gets cut off. It's really boxy, and I just wish there was something kind of going on here. This alternate build has been cleverly named the Ectozer, and it is a bulldozing Ecto 1, so to speak. Very distinct shape, no mistaking what this vehicle is. And this is a very smart build. There's hardly any pieces on here that don't serve a specific purpose in order to give this vehicle its recognizable look. This next build here is a bit more wacky and creative, or perhaps just ambiguous. It is called the Perfecto, and it is obviously a flying machine. Interesting that they use the tile pieces vertically on the wings, and it kind of gives the idea that this vehicle is more hover-oriented than perhaps just flying forward with jets. We've got some sort of posable turret at the top, and I do like that build for the windshield in the front. So here's one last look at the whole set. I'm really liking the play area here. Of course, there's a lot more to this than just the build. As you can see, I am just reviewing the Lego build portion of these sets. But in order to fully judge this set in particular, yeah, I would say you have to play a lot of the game. The minifig isn't exclusive, and I'd say for me, the biggest high points are definitely the original Ecto 1 build, and there's quite a few details of this Chinese restaurant build that I just really like. All right, so moving right down the list, let's do Harry Potter. Alright, so this is set number 71247. It is the Harry Potter team pack. Nice to see Harry Potter coming back into the mix after not being around for quite a long time in Lego. Let's start with the minifigs. Harry Potter here has a lot of great detailing. There's quite a bit more on here than I expected to see. We've got two good expressions printed for Harry Potter's face. The alternate, you can see the lightning bolt scar on his forehead, and he comes with a simple brown bar piece for the wand. Voldemort has the same wand piece, and it was a nice touch to use the inverted colors for his robes to be sort of glowing green, and he has an adequately menacing print for the face. Now this build here is certainly on my top 3 favorite of any of the Dimension vehicle builds from this new wave. The enchanted flying car has been brought to life in this scale really well, and what works so well about this build is that it is just so simple. It's almost identically put together really from front to back, and the only things that change its orientation are the color of the headlights and taillights, as well as the direction of just a few colored cheese wedges for the pieces on top. Also another excellent scaled down build, this is the Hogwarts Express, specifically the red engine in the front. Now here is an appropriate use for those wheels on the bottom like we saw before in a previous Dimensions wave set, and it's nice to see those small black studs in the front used as the smaller wheels. Now for two pretty straightforward down-to-earth original builds, the alternates start to get a bit wacky. This is the Shark Sub. Now the front definitely looks like the face of a creature. I'm gonna say it looks a lot more like an anglerfish face without the angler than anything you could even remotely call a shark. But I do like the use of the wheel pieces. You can sort of assume that they might be used as propellers, and it's kind of a fun creative build. Now the Hogwarts Express turns itself into something called the Steam Warrior. The only really distinctive thing I get from this build are the arms in the front, and everything else I guess sort of resembles a torso, and it rolls around on 4 wheels. Kind of a strange one, not a big fan of this build, but this alternate one is probably one of the strangest, and I think just one of the most fun looking out of any of the Wave Dimensions builds. It's certainly one of the most expressive at least. It's kind of an odd creature that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. The back is just kind of tapered off there with those tile pieces. What really makes it is of course the mouth. The name of this build is called Monstrous Mouth, and it's I think one of the only alternate builds that can actually be posed into a different position. The mouth opens up, and if you don't accidentally break the head off, you can also adjust the eyebrows to make it sort of emotional. It definitely makes this build a bit more fun and lifelike, and it's certainly one of my favorites. Now here's the very last alternate. It's called Soaring Steam Plane, and if you think something is missing from here, Well, you're right, the wings just aren't there. You can tell based on how the wheel pieces for the train are used at the bottom that it's supposed to be something that kind of hovers, or at least has jets shooting directly downwards, and then the propeller moves it forward in the front. To me, it just kind of looks incomplete, but that is just my take on this particular build. Anyways, here is the whole set one more time. I like getting two of these very classic vehicles, and they're scaled down really well. All right, trickling on down to the last couple of sets. Let's do the A-Team next. Here is the A-Team 71251, or everybody I know is just pretty much calling this the Mr. T set, and I gotta say the minifigure is awesome. Detailing all over the front looks great, the expression is awesome, but certainly the biggest draw is that mold for the hairpiece. The much wider mohawk looks great. I want to see this piece molded more in the future, and I want to see it in more colors. I'm really liking it here for Mr. T, but this is definitely a hairstyle I want to see more often on more figs. Now, I meant to say B.A. Baracus, but I can't help myself. I'm just going to always call him Mr. T. And I only say that because the main build of this set is called B.A.'s van, and I didn't want you to be confused. Now, here is probably one of my least favorite builds for any of the Dimension sets, and I don't actually think it looks too bad. I really do like those prints on the tile pieces for the sides, but the roof just looks a little bit incomplete. It's almost like they didn't quite have enough tile pieces to kind of smooth it over, and I don't know, for me it just doesn't feel like it works. I like that fin in the front that kind of hangs over the front windshield. Now let's check out some of the alternate builds. This is called the Pain Plane, but to me it really looks like a very chubby seaplane. The wheels have been refitted to be the thrusters on the wings, which is a cool touch, and I'm really just liking the shape of the hull for the cockpit. Definitely stubby little wings, but at this scale, especially as a secondary build, I don't think it could get any better than that. This is called the Fool Smasher, and I almost like this a little bit more than the van. The side walls seem to be jutting out a little bit more, kind of like the machine has morphed onto the offensive, and the roof looks a bit more varied. We still have that nice fin piece used in the front over the windshield, and the only weak part of this build, in my opinion, is the lack of detail on the back. Not a huge complaint, but that's just my 2 cents about the whole thing. So here is the set all together one more time. Certainly the highlight for this one is the Mr. T minifig, and I gotta say I wasn't really too impressed by any of the builds for this particular set. All right, Mission Impossible is the last one. Let's get it done. Alright, so here's the Mission Impossible level pack 71248. This is a great classic spy movie turned into Lego form, and we've got our minifig Ethan Hunt, who is in his spy suit, especially the secret covert one that he's wearing when he does that classic ceiling drop from the Mission Impossible movie. It's got a pretty nice print for the face. You can see a little headset and glasses, and he comes with some binocular accessories. His first build is the IMF sports car, and it just looks like a nice small scale car. There's a couple of good curved pieces used towards the back and towards the front, and it's a simple white, black, and blue color combo. Nothing too special, I don't think, but I gotta say I'm liking the IMF Scrambler just a little bit more. It's an interesting looking bike to say the least. We've got those big Technic pieces holding in the small wheels, and the body itself for the bike is actually relatively wide with some thrusters on the side. I thought they were exhausts, but I'm pretty sure those are just speed boosts. Now it comes resting on this stand, and you can actually take it off, and if you want to, you can attach the minifig. It looks a little bit awkward, I must admit, but at the end of the day, it could actually work as a motorcycle for your fig. This is the first of the builds that isn't actually a micro. It can totally work as minifig scale. I really do appreciate that. And guess what? We just finished the entire Dimensions Wave 6 review. Here are all of them together one more time. There are plenty of exclusive and awesomely made minifigs from this new wave. I have a feeling Adventure Time is going to be very popular from this one. And in general, I think we got some very good small scale builds here for the Dimension sets. Always fun to see a lot of new and creative characters thrown into the Dimensions universe, and considering the quality of the figs and the builds for this wave, I gotta say I'm getting a lot more excited for the next ones to come. Alright, so that is it for this episode. Thanks a lot for watching. If you want to buy any of the sets, I've left links in the video description below, and if you enjoy our content, you can always like or subscribe. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time at BrickVault.